In the summer of 1971, a simple advertisement appeared in a newspaper. It offered money, not much, just enough to attract college students. The job description was vague. Psychological study of prison life. Nothing about danger, nothing about harm. 24 young men volunteered. They were screened carefully. No criminal records, no mental illness, no violent history. They were healthy, educated, normal. This matters, because what happened next cannot be blamed on who they were. It must be blamed on where they were placed. The experiment took place at Stanford University, in the basement of the psychology building. That basement was transformed into a prison. Cells, bars, locks, surveillance. It looked real. It felt real. The volunteers were randomly assigned roles. Half became prisoners, half became guards. No one chose their role. No one trained for it. They were told one thing: act as you believe the role requires. That sentence would destroy the experiment. The prisoners were arrested at home. Real police cars, real handcuffs, real neighbors watching. They were searched, stripped, deloused. Their names were taken away. They were given numbers. From the first hour, confusion set in. The guards wore uniforms, mirrored sunglasses, batons. They were told they could not use violence, but they were given full control. Control without rules is dangerous. On the first night, nothing happened. By the second day, everything changed. The prisoners rebelled. They blocked their cell doors. They shouted. They refused orders. The guards were shocked. They had not expected resistance. So they escalated. They used fire extinguishers. They stripped prisoners naked. They took away beds. This was still only day 2. Something subtle had begun. The guards stopped acting. They started believing. Believing they were in charge. Believing obedience was owed to them. The prisoners began to shrink. They stopped speaking freely. They followed commands automatically. One prisoner broke down completely, crying, shaking, screaming. The researchers thought he was pretending. He was released, but the environment did not change. Instead, the guards grew more creative. They invented punishments, forced exercises, sleep deprivation, humiliation. They separated prisoners, turned them against each other. This was not planned. This emerged naturally. That is what makes it horrifying. No one told them to do this. No one stopped them. Even the researchers began to blur roles. They stopped acting like observers. They began acting like prison staff. Rules were broken, ethics ignored. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. By day 5, people were collapsing, emotionally, psychologically. The prisoners were no longer pretending. They were trapped. And the guards? They were enjoying it. This is the moment the experiment crossed a line. Not because of cruelty, but because everyone accepted it. No alarms, no intervention, just normalization. By the 3rd day, the prison no longer felt temporary. The guards no longer sounded like students. They spoke with authority, with certainty, with ownership. They began working in shifts, voluntarily. Some stayed longer than required, not for money, for control. The prisoners woke up to shouting, orders, commands. Numbers instead of names. Every movement was monitored. Small mistakes were punished. Slow walking, late responses, eye contact. The guards did not need instructions anymore. They invented rules. Rules that served only one purpose: submission. One punishment became routine. Prisoners were forced to do push-ups, while guards stepped on their backs, not violently, casually, as if it was normal. Another punishment involved sleep. Prisoners were woken repeatedly, late at night, early morning. Exhaustion set in. Fatigue broke resistance. One prisoner began laughing uncontrollably. Another stopped speaking. A third complained of stomach pain. The guards mocked them, called them weak. The line between role and identity was disappearing. Prisoners started obeying automatically, even when guards were absent. They asked permission to go to the bathroom. They asked permission to speak. This was not required. They believed it was. One prisoner tried to escape. He believed leaving was impossible, even though the door was unlocked. That is psychological imprisonment. The most disturbing part? The guards did not feel cruel. They felt justified. They believed order mattered more than comfort, that discipline mattered more than dignity. This belief was never taught. It emerged naturally. The researchers observed quietly, taking notes, recording footage. But they did not intervene. They had become part of the system. One researcher even adopted a role: prison superintendent. Authority was now layered. Prisoners complained. They begged. Some cried. Parents visited. They were shocked, but the setting looked official. Uniforms, bars, procedures. The illusion was complete. Parents believed their sons were being rehabilitated, not abused. One prisoner broke completely. He screamed, he shook, he begged to leave. Again, researchers questioned whether it was real. He was released, but his replacement arrived immediately. The system continued, no pause, no reflection. By now, prisoners were turning on each other. They blamed fellow inmates. They enforced guard rules among themselves. Oppression had become internal. The experiment had stopped studying behavior. It was shaping it. The guards escalated humiliation. Prisoners were stripped, forced to wear degrading clothing. Privacy was removed. Human dignity dissolved, all without physical violence. No blood, no weapons, just structure and permission. By day 6, the experiment was out of control, but no one in charge felt responsible, because responsibility was shared. And shared responsibility often means no responsibility. This is the most dangerous environment humans create. By the 6th day, the experiment had lost its original purpose. It was no longer about observation. It was about endurance. Prisoners were emotionally exhausted. Some had stopped responding. Others followed orders automatically. Their personalities were disappearing. The guards, meanwhile, had settled in. They spoke casually about punishment. They joked. They laughed. Abuse had become routine, and still, no one stopped it. The researchers watched. They recorded footage. They discussed behavior patterns, but they did not intervene. Why? Because the system felt normal. This is how dangerous systems work. They feel normal from the inside. The turning point came from someone not involved in the experiment, a graduate student. She entered the prison basement for the first time. What she saw shocked her. Young men stripped of dignity, guards humiliating prisoners openly. No concern, no hesitation. She asked a simple question: how is this allowed? The researchers had no answer. For the first time, they were forced to see it, not as data, but as harm. The lead researcher defended the experiment. He argued it was necessary, that participants could leave at any time. But the graduate student disagreed. She pointed out something crucial. They believed they could not leave. That belief was the experiment's greatest failure. Within hours, the study was terminated. 6 days. It was meant to last 14. The decision came suddenly. Guards were dismissed. Prisoners were released. The basement was emptied. But the damage remained. Many participants reported long-term effects: nightmares, guilt, shame. Some guards were disturbed by their own behavior. They did not recognize themselves. They asked a terrifying question: if I could do this once, could I do it again? The experiment became famous, then controversial, then condemned. Ethics committees were formed because of it. Rules were rewritten. Psychology changed. But the lesson was not comfortable, because it did not blame individuals. It blamed situations. It showed how quickly normal people can become abusive when given authority, and how quickly others will submit. This makes the experiment terrifying, not because of what happened, but because of what it proves. You do not need monsters. You do not need criminals. You only need structure, permission, and silence. When the Stanford prison experiment ended, many believed the danger was over. It was not. The basement was emptied, the uniforms were removed, but the lesson followed everyone home. The experiment proved something uncomfortable. Cruelty does not require cruel people. It only requires permission. The guards were not violent men. They were students, friends, ordinary individuals. Yet within days, they justified humiliation, not because they hated prisoners, but because the system allowed it. And systems are powerful. The prisoners were not weak. They were intelligent, motivated, but once their identity was removed, their resistance collapsed. Names matter. Autonomy matters. When people lose both, they adapt to survive. This is why the experiment remains relevant. Real prisons operate on the same principles: uniforms, hierarchy, surveillance, and most importantly, distance. Distance between those in power and those without. The experiment also revealed a second danger. Observers become complicit. The researchers did not intend harm, but they accepted it, because stopping the experiment meant questioning authority. This is how abuse survives, not through villains, through silence. Since 1971, the experiment has been criticized. Some say it was exaggerated. Others say it lacked control. Those criticisms matter, but they do not erase the outcome. Participants still remember it as real. Their reactions were real. Their fear was real, and the speed of transformation was real. This is why the Stanford prison experiment is taught worldwide, not as proof of evil, but as proof of vulnerability. Any society can recreate this environment, any institution, any organization. All it takes is power without oversight, roles without accountability, and people willing to look away. The experiment was stopped by one person, one outsider, one voice that asked a question. That is the final lesson. Systems do not stop themselves. People stop them, or they don't. And when they don't, ordinary people become capable of extraordinary harm.